The Galactic Council chamber stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls refracting the light of a dozen suns. Ambassador Callus stood alone at the center of the circular floor, surrounded by the elevated platforms of 73 species, each one ancient beyond human comprehension. The air hummed with translation matrices and the whispered doubts of beings who had ruled the stars for millennia. "This is absurd," hissed the Calathi representative, its 6 compound eyes gleaming with disdain. "A human? Leading the defense of the Outer Rim? They've been spacefaring for barely 3 centuries. Callus kept her expression neutral, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore no ceremonial armor, no medals or insignia. Just the simple gray uniform of Earth's expeditionary forces, weathered from years on frontier worlds. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical knot, and a thin scar traced her jawline, a gift from the Kryn incursion at Epsilon Station. "The human has no fleet," added the Vorthene Chancellor, its translucent form rippling with condescension. "No army worth mentioning, no technology that surpasses our own. What could she possibly offer that justifies this unprecedented appointment?" The Council Primarch, an ancient being whose species name humans couldn't pronounce, leaned forward on its dais. Its voice resonated through every translator simultaneously. "Ambassador Callus, you understand the gravity of this situation. The Devourers approach the Outer Rim. 14 worlds have already fallen silent. We require a unified command structure, and your nomination has caused considerable debate." "Debate?" The word came from Kashan, the reptilian war master whose people had conquered half their sector before joining the council. "I would call it comedy. Humans are children playing at war. What victories can she claim?" "What armies has she commanded?" Callus finally spoke, her voice cutting through the chamber with unexpected authority. "I commanded the defense of Proxima Colony against the Kryn swarm. 17,000 civilians evacuated with 0 casualties." "With our ships!" Tation snapped back. "Council vessels that we provided. I broke the siege of Haven's Gate with 300 defenders against 12,000 hostiles." "Haven's Gate?" The Vorthene Chancellor's form pulsed with what might have been laughter. "A mining outpost. Hardly a strategic victory worthy of council recognition." The Primarch raised one crystalline appendage. "The issue before us is not Ambassador Callus's past achievements, impressive though they may be in human terms. The issue is whether she possesses the qualities necessary to unite our forces, to inspire loyalty across species, to lead when conventional leadership has failed." The ancient being's gaze fixed on Callus. "You understand that the Outer Rim defense cannot rely on council fleets alone. The Devourers are too numerous, too adaptable. We need unconventional forces, mercenaries, frontier militias. The wild elements that no council admiral has ever successfully coordinated." "Precisely my point," Cation interjected. "Such forces require strength, dominance, a leader who commands through fear and power. What does this human have? Speeches? Diplomatic smiles?" "She has humans," muttered one of the smaller council members, a species humanity had helped evacuate from their dying world. "And humans are soft," interrupted the Calathi, "emotional. They form attachments to inferior species. They reject perfectly logical sacrifices in favor of sentiment. These are not qualities of a war leader." Callus's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She had expected this. Humanity's reputation in the council was complicated, respected for their adaptability and courage, dismissed for their youth and their refusal to embrace the cold calculus that governed most galactic powers. The Primarch's attention remained fixed on her. "Ambassador, the council recognizes your nomination by Frontier Command. But we must see proof. Not of your tactical ability that is documented, not of your courage that is evident. We must see proof that you can command loyalty from those who owe you nothing, that you can lead forces beyond your own species, that you possess something the Council's own generals do not." "You want a demonstration," Callus said quietly. "We require certainty." The chamber fell silent. 73 species waited, many already convinced of the outcome. The human would refuse or attempt some verbal argument that would only prove her unsuitability. Command required more than words. Callus turned slowly, surveying the assembled council. Then she smiled, not a diplomatic smile, but something genuine and almost wild. "Very well." She brought her fingers to her lips and released a single piercing whistle. The sound shouldn't have carried far in the vast chamber. but somehow it echoed, sharp and clear, through every corner of the crystalline space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the doors exploded inward. They came like a flood of living shadow and starlight, pouring into the council chamber with predatory grace. 300 war beasts, each one a different species from worlds across the frontier. Kalis recognized them all, Fenric's wolves from the ice moons of Kappa 7, their metallic fur gleaming. Kryn hunters, the very species that had once attacked human colonies, now moving with disciplined purpose. Vorthan stalkers whose homeworld had been consumed by the Devourers. Shadowcats from the void stations. Stormdrakes whose wings had never seen natural atmosphere. They arranged themselves in perfect battle formation behind Kalis, creating geometric patterns of claws, teeth, wings, and scales. Not a single growl. Not one aggressive move toward the council members. Just absolute, disciplined readiness. At the front of the formation stood Vera, a massive Kryn alpha, whose scarred hide told stories of 100 battles. The creature that should have been humanity's enemy lowered its head toward Kalis in a gesture of unmistakable deference. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives rose from their seats, security protocols activated. Translation matrices overloaded with simultaneous exclamations of shock, fear, and disbelief. Kalis raised one hand. The war beasts settled immediately, 300 predators becoming as still as statues. "These are the frontier packs," Kalis said, her voice carrying easily now through the stunned silence. "Refugees, survivors, orphans of the Devourer advance. I found them on dead worlds and dying stations. I fed them when the council deemed their worlds acceptable losses. I fought beside them when no one else would." She walked forward, and Vera moved with her, the massive Kryn keeping pace at her shoulder. The other beasts shifted their formation smoothly, maintaining perfect discipline. "You ask what I have that your generals don't," Kalis continued. "I have loyalty that can't be bought or commanded through fear. I have forces that chose to follow, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Every creature behind me has lost everything to the Devourers. Every single one has chosen to fight again, not for territory or glory, but because they believe in what we're defending." Kashin had fallen silent, his reptilian eyes fixed on the formation. The Kalathi representative's wings had gone rigid. Even the Primarch leaned forward with what might have been surprise. "The Outer Rim doesn't need another conventional commander," Kalis said. "It needs someone who understands that this war won't be won by fleets alone. It will be won by everyone who refuses to surrender. By every species, every soldier, every survivor who stands their ground." She placed her hand on Vera's scarred head. "It will be won by those you've dismissed as beneath notice." The silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, the representative from the species humanity had evacuated stood. "I vote to confirm the appointment." Another rose. Then another. Not all Kashin and the Kalathi remained seated, their opposition clear. But enough. More than enough. The Primarch's voice resonated through the chamber one final time. "Ambassador Kalis, Supreme Commander of Outer Rim Defense, may your unconventional methods prove as effective in the coming storm as they have been in this chamber." Kalis whistled again, softer this time. As one, the 300 war beasts turned and filed out of the chamber with the same disciplined precision they'd shown entering. Vera paused at the door, yellow eyes meeting Kalis's for a moment, before following the others. As the last echo of claws on crystal faded, Kalis turned back to the council. "With your permission, I have a war to prepare for." The Primarch inclined its crystalline head. "Dismissed, Commander." As she walked out of the chamber, Kalis heard the Kalathi's voice, quiet and uncertain for the first time. "What are humans?" The response came from the small representative, its voice carrying pride and something like affection. "They are the ones who remember the forgotten. And they never leave anyone behind.